Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to picture a moment of chaos, perhaps a heated argument, an unexpected crisis, or even just the daily frustrations that can quickly send your mind spiraling. Now imagine that in this moment, you possess a deep well of calm, a clarity of thought that allows you to choose your actions carefully. What if you could navigate every situation with that same strength and serenity? You can. You have that power within you right now. Today, we're diving into one of the most timeless and transformative philosophies in history, Stoicism. In an era where our minds are constantly bombarded by external pressures, social media, work demands, personal relationships, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, to react impulsively. But imagine how your life would change if instead of reacting instinctively, you could respond thoughtfully and with purpose. This is the essence of Stoicism, a philosophy that teaches us how to master our minds, to choose our responses, and to align our actions with our deeper values. As we explore Stoicism today, we'll uncover ancient wisdom that can help you face life's greatest challenges and transform them into opportunities for growth. So let's begin this journey together. The power of self-awareness. At the heart of Stoic philosophy is the cultivation of self-awareness, the ability to observe and understand your own thoughts, emotions, and actions. It's a simple yet powerful concept. But what does it mean to truly know yourself? And why is this self-awareness so vital to responding rather than reacting? In our fast-paced modern world, we often move from one task to the next without ever stopping to reflect. We get caught up in the rush, swept along by external circumstances. Think about how many times you've reacted to a situation, perhaps with frustration, anger, or anxiety, without really considering what's happening in your mind. You just react. But what if instead of reacting, you paused and observed? What if you took a step back and asked yourself, what am I feeling right now? Why am I feeling this way? And how should I respond in a way that reflects my true self? This is where the Stoics excelled. They understood that true wisdom begins with self-awareness. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Think about the power in that statement. External events are beyond our control. We cannot control what others say or do. We cannot control the traffic, the weather, or even the decisions made by those around us. But what we can control is how we interpret these events and how we choose to respond. This is where self-awareness becomes crucial. Let me illustrate this with a simple example. Imagine you're driving to work, and another driver cuts you off abruptly. Your initial reaction might be anger, an instinctive burst of frustration. But if you practice self-awareness, you can pause for a moment and ask yourself, why am I angry? Is this situation worth losing my peace of mind over? When you become aware of your thoughts and feelings in that moment, you gain the power to choose a different response. Instead of reacting with anger, you can choose calm. You can remind yourself that the other driver's actions are outside of your control, but your peace of mind is within your control. Now, self-awareness isn't something that happens overnight. It's a practice that requires time and effort. But the more you practice, the more you begin to notice patterns in your thoughts and emotions. You start to see the moments where you are most reactive. And in those moments, you gain the ability to pause, reflect, and choose a more thoughtful response. Focus on what you can control. Building on this foundation of self-awareness, the next key Stoic principle is learning to focus on what you can control and letting go of what you cannot. This idea is both liberating and challenging, and it's one of the most important lessons that Stoicism offers. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, famously wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." When you truly embrace this idea, you free yourself from the constant struggle to control the uncontrollable. Let's consider a practical example. Imagine you're at work, and you've been working hard on a project for weeks. You've put in the extra hours, made sure every detail is perfect, and you're confident that your effort will be recognized. But when the project is presented, your boss criticizes your work. You feel a wave of disappointment and frustration. How could they not see how much effort you put in? In this moment, you have a choice. You can focus on the fact that your boss's reaction is beyond your control, and choose to let go of that frustration. Or you can hold on to it, letting it consume your thoughts and energy. The Stoic approach is clear. Focus on what you can control: your effort, your dedication, your attitude. Let go of the external judgment, because that's outside your influence. Now, this doesn't mean that Stoicism teaches us to be passive or indifferent to the world around us. Far from it. The Stoics believed in taking deliberate, thoughtful action. But they also understood that once you've done everything within your control, you must release your attachment to the outcome. In fact, this principle applies not only to work, but to every area of life. Relationships, health, even our personal goals. We can influence these things, but we cannot control every aspect of them. When we obsess over controlling everything, we set ourselves up for frustration and disappointment. But when we learn to let go of what we cannot control, we find peace. This brings us to a powerful Stoic exercise that can help you focus on what's within your control. The practice of premeditatio malorum, or premeditation of evils. This exercise involves imagining potential challenges or setbacks in advance. By visualizing these challenges, you prepare yourself mentally for how you will respond. For example, before a difficult meeting or conversation, you can reflect on the possibility of things not going as planned. How will you respond if things don't go your way? How will you maintain your inner peace, regardless of the outcome? The Stoics used this exercise to remind themselves that while they couldn't control the external world, they could always control their response. And in doing so, they strengthened their ability to remain calm and composed, no matter what life threw at them. The power of the pause. One of the most practical and transformative tools that Stoicism offers is the power of the pause. In a world that often demands quick decisions and immediate reactions, the Stoics remind us that true wisdom lies in taking a moment to pause, reflect, and respond thoughtfully. Think about the last time you were in a situation where your emotions were running high. Maybe you were in an argument with a loved one, or you received some bad news that left you feeling overwhelmed. In those moments, our natural instinct is to react immediately. We say things we don't mean, we make rash decisions, and we let our emotions take control. But what if, in those moments, you could pause? What if you could take a deep breath, step back, and give yourself the space to consider your response? This is where the Stoic practice of the pause becomes invaluable. Marcus Aurelius spoke about the importance of creating space between stimulus and response. He recognized that in the heat of the moment, our initial reactions are often driven by emotion rather than reason. But by pausing, even for just a few seconds, we create the opportunity to choose a more thoughtful response. Let's consider another example. Imagine you're in a meeting, and a colleague makes a comment that feels like a personal attack. Your first instinct might be to snap back, to defend yourself, or to retaliate with a harsh remark. But if you practice the Stoic pause, you can take a moment to breathe, reflect, and ask yourself, what is the best way to respond in this situation? How can I maintain my integrity and composure? This pause doesn't just help you avoid conflict, it helps you respond in a way that aligns with your values. Instead of reacting impulsively, you can choose a response that reflects your true character. Over time, the power of the pause becomes a habit. You begin to notice the moments where your emotions are driving your actions, and you learn to create space before you respond. This practice not only improves your relationships and decision-making, but it also brings a deeper sense of peace and control into your life. Reframing challenges as opportunities. One of the most transformative aspects of Stoicism is the ability to reframe challenges as opportunities for growth. The Stoics believed that adversity is not something to be feared or avoided, but rather embraced as a chance to develop inner strength and resilience. Marcus Aurelius famously said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This idea, known as the Stoic obstacle philosophy, teaches us that every challenge we face is an opportunity to practice virtue, to become wiser, stronger, and more resilient. Let's break this down with an example. Imagine you've just experienced a significant personal setback, perhaps a failed business venture or a breakup. Your initial reaction might be to see this as a defeat, a sign that you failed. But the Stoic perspective invites you to reframe this situation. Instead of seeing it as a failure, you can choose to see it as an opportunity to grow. What can you learn from this experience? How can it make you a better, more resilient person? By reframing challenges in this way, you shift your mindset from one of victimhood to one of empowerment. You begin to see obstacles as stepping stones on your path to personal growth. Every difficulty becomes an opportunity to practice patience, courage, and wisdom, the core virtues of Stoicism. In fact, the Stoics went so far as to welcome challenges because they understood that it's in moments of adversity that we have the greatest opportunity to grow. When things are going well, it's easy to remain calm and composed. But it's when we're tested, when life throws unexpected challenges our way, that we have the chance to prove our strength. Now, you might be asking, how exactly do we reframe challenges in the Stoic sense? It's a process that begins with a shift in mindset, something that Stoic philosophers like Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius emphasized throughout their teachings. One powerful tool the Stoics used was something called cognitive reframing. Essentially, this means changing the way you view a situation. You begin by looking at the challenge in front of you not as an obstacle, but as an opportunity. The Stoics believed that every setback has the potential to teach us something valuable, whether it's patience, resilience, or the ability to see life's events with greater clarity. Let's consider a modern-day example. Imagine you've been passed over for a promotion at work. Your initial reaction might be disappointment, frustration, or even self-doubt. However, if you apply the Stoic principle of reframing, you begin to see this situation differently. Perhaps not getting the promotion isn't a reflection of your worth, but rather a chance to reevaluate your career path, to improve your skills, or to seek out new opportunities. Maybe it's even an opportunity to strengthen your inner resilience and let go of the need for external validation. In the Stoic mindset, every experience, especially the difficult ones, becomes an opportunity to grow. In fact, it's often the hardest moments in life that teach us the most about ourselves. Marcus Aurelius, in his famous Meditations, wrote extensively about using hardship as a tool for personal growth. He knew, as we all do, that life is filled with challenges, but he also understood that how we face those challenges determines the course of our lives. Think about your own life. When was the last time you faced adversity? It could have been a personal loss, a financial setback, or a challenging relationship. How did you handle it? Did you see it as an opportunity to learn and grow? Or did you feel overwhelmed by the weight of the challenge? Stoicism teaches us that we are stronger than we think. It reminds us that adversity doesn't define us. How we respond to it does. When we adopt this mindset, we begin to see every challenge, no matter how daunting, as a chance to practice virtue. We can approach hardship with patience, courage, and wisdom. We can look for the lessons hidden within the struggle. This idea that adversity can be a stepping stone to growth is one of the most empowering aspects of Stoicism. It shifts your focus away from fear and frustration and moves you toward resilience and strength. You no longer see challenges as things to be avoided, but as opportunities to be embraced. And in doing so, you transform not only your mindset, but also your life. The practice of virtue in daily life. At the core of Stoicism lies the pursuit of virtue. The Stoics believe that living a virtuous life is the ultimate goal, and that everything we do should be guided by the four cardinal virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These virtues act as a moral compass, helping us navigate through life's challenges and make decisions that align with our highest values. But what does it mean to live a virtuous life in today's world? How do we apply these ancient principles in our daily lives? And what can they teach us about responding rather than reacting? Let's start with wisdom. Wisdom in the Stoic sense is not just about knowledge. It's about understanding the nature of the world and our place within it. It's about recognizing that we are part of something much larger than ourselves, and that our actions have consequences, not just for us, but for the world around us. To cultivate wisdom is to constantly seek clarity, to question our assumptions, and to strive for understanding. Now think about how wisdom applies to your responses in life. When you encounter a difficult situation, wisdom invites you to step back and reflect. Instead of reacting impulsively, you ask yourself, what is the bigger picture here? How does this moment fit into the broader context of my life? And how can I respond in a way that aligns with my long-term goals and values? Wisdom helps you see beyond the immediate emotions and urges that often cloud your judgment, allowing you to respond from a place of reason and clarity. Next, we come to courage. Courage, as the Stoics saw it, isn't just about facing physical danger. It's about moral bravery. It's about having the strength to stand up for what's right, even when it's difficult or unpopular. Courage means being willing to face discomfort, uncertainty, and even failure, knowing that growth and progress often come from stepping outside of your comfort zone. In the context of responding rather than reacting, courage means being brave enough to pause. It takes courage to hold back your immediate reaction when you're angry or frustrated. It takes courage to confront difficult truths about yourself and others, to ask the hard questions, and to respond with integrity, even when it's easier to lash out or avoid the situation altogether. Courage is also about perseverance. The Stoics believed that resilience in the face of adversity is one of the highest forms of courage. When life knocks you down, it's courage that allows you to get back up, to keep going, to respond to hardship with grace and determination. Remember, the Stoics saw challenges not as obstacles, but as opportunities to practice virtue. And courage is the virtue that helps you rise to meet those challenges. Now let's consider justice. Justice for the Stoics is about treating others fairly and with respect. It's about recognizing that we are all interconnected and that our actions affect the people around us. Living justly means being considerate of others' needs and perspectives, and acting in ways that promote the greater good. When it comes to responding versus reacting, justice calls us to be mindful of how our actions impact others. In moments of conflict or tension, it's easy to react out of self-interest, to focus solely on our own needs and frustrations. But Stoicism teaches us to take a step back and consider the bigger picture. How will your response affect those around you? How can you act in a way that promotes harmony, fairness, and mutual respect? By practicing justice, you ensure that your responses are not just beneficial to you, but to the people and communities you are part of. Finally, we have temperance, which is all about self-control and moderation. The Stoics believed that a life of excess, whether in emotions, desires, or actions, leads to imbalance and suffering. Temperance calls us to exercise restraint, to act with balance, and to avoid overindulgence in both the physical and emotional realms. In the practice of responding versus reacting, temperance plays a crucial role. It's what allows you to regulate your emotions, to pause before you act, and to choose a measured, thoughtful response. When you're faced with a stressful situation, temperance helps you avoid extremes, whether that's an outburst of anger or a retreat into apathy. It's about finding the middle ground, the balanced response that reflects both your emotions and your reason. Together, these four virtues, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, form the foundation of a Stoic life. They guide us in how we think, how we act, and how we respond to the world around us. By striving to embody these virtues, we move closer to living with integrity, purpose, and inner peace. The role of reflection and continuous improvement. Another key component of Stoicism, and one that is often overlooked in modern interpretations of the philosophy, is the practice of reflection and self-assessment. The Stoics believed that true wisdom comes from continuous learning and improvement, and that every day presents an opportunity to refine our responses, to grow wiser, and to become better versions of ourselves. In fact, one of the most famous Stoic practices is the evening reflection. Seneca, one of the great Roman Stoics, advised that at the end of each day, we should look back and ask ourselves, what did I do well today? Where did I fall short? How could I have responded better? This simple practice of reflection helps us become more aware of our habits and reactions, and it provides a framework for continuous growth. Let's break this down in a practical way. Imagine that at the end of each day, you take a few minutes to reflect on your actions and responses. You ask yourself, were there moments today where I reacted impulsively? Could I have paused and responded differently? This isn't about beating yourself up or dwelling on mistakes. It's about learning from them. Each day gives you a fresh opportunity to practice Stoic principles, to become more self-aware, and to align your actions more closely with your values. Reflection is also a way to track your progress. Stoicism is not about perfection, it's about growth. By regularly reflecting on your responses, you can see how far you've come and identify areas where you still need to improve. This ongoing process of self-assessment and adjustment is key to cultivating a responsive Stoic mindset. Reflection, as emphasized by the Stoics, is not merely a tool for self-assessment, but a path to personal mastery. Seneca famously said, "Every day we should remind ourselves of the things that are truly in our control and where we have faltered in those areas." This daily practice is akin to a mental audit, a moment where we look inward and ask, have I lived today according to my values? Have I made choices that reflect the person I aspire to be? Reflection provides us with clarity. It helps us recognize patterns in our behavior and reactions, which is crucial for growth. Without self-awareness, we're doomed to repeat the same mistakes over and over. But with reflection, we can see where we've gone wrong, learn from those experiences, and course correct. Consider how reflection can be used to strengthen your ability to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. Imagine, for example, that during your reflection at the end of the day, you recall an argument you had earlier. Perhaps, in the heat of the moment, you said something you regret. Through reflection, you have the opportunity to dissect that experience. What triggered your reaction? How could you have handled the situation differently? What will you do the next time you're faced with a similar challenge? By asking these questions, you're not only learning from your past, but also setting the stage for future success. You're training your mind to pause, to reflect, and to respond with greater wisdom and intention. This is the true essence of Stoicism, the constant pursuit of growth and improvement, day by day, decision by decision. Mindfulness and the present moment. Another powerful Stoic practice that complements reflection is mindfulness, the ability to stay grounded in the present moment. The Stoics believed that much of our suffering comes from worrying about the future or dwelling on the past. By anchoring ourselves in the present, we gain the clarity needed to make rational decisions and respond with equanimity. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." This simple yet profound advice reminds us that the only moment we truly have control over is the one we're experiencing right now. When we allow our minds to drift into the future, worrying about things that haven't happened yet, or to the past, agonizing over things we can't change, we lose our ability to respond effectively to the challenges in front of us. Let's think about how mindfulness can be applied in your daily life. Picture a stressful moment, perhaps an overwhelming workload, or a difficult conversation with a family member. It's easy to let your mind race in these situations, to get lost in thoughts about what could go wrong, or to dwell on past failures. But if you practice mindfulness, you bring your attention back to the present. You focus on your breath, your surroundings, and the immediate task at hand. By cultivating this mindful awareness, you give yourself the space to pause before reacting. You regain control over your thoughts and emotions, allowing you to respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. Mindfulness helps you maintain your inner calm, even when the world around you is chaotic. Incorporating mindfulness into your Stoic practice is not difficult. It can be as simple as taking a few deep breaths before responding to a stressful situation, or setting aside a few minutes each day for meditation. The goal is to train your mind to stay present, to observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment, and to make decisions from a place of calm and clarity. Stoic detachment and emotional resilience. One of the most misunderstood aspects of Stoicism is the concept of detachment. Some people think that Stoics are cold or unemotional, that they detach themselves from the world to avoid feeling anything. But this couldn't be further from the truth. Stoic detachment is not about suppressing emotions. It's about recognizing them, understanding their nature, and choosing not to be controlled by them. The Stoics believed that emotions are a natural part of the human experience. We all feel anger, sadness, fear, and joy, but the key is how we respond to these emotions. Stoic detachment means acknowledging your feelings without letting them dictate your actions. It's about maintaining emotional resilience, the ability to experience emotions without being overwhelmed by them. Let's explore how this works in practice. Imagine you receive bad news. Perhaps you've lost a job or experienced a personal loss. Your immediate reaction might be to feel overwhelmed by grief, frustration, or anxiety. These emotions are natural, but the Stoic response is to step back and observe them. You acknowledge that the situation is difficult, that the emotions you're feeling are real, but you also remind yourself that these emotions don't have to control you. Through Stoic detachment, you create a space between yourself and your emotions. You recognize that while you cannot change the event, you can choose how you respond to it. This mindset allows you to remain calm in the face of adversity, to respond with strength and resilience even when life throws its hardest challenges at you. Seneca captured this beautifully when he said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Often, our reactions to events are amplified by the stories we tell ourselves. We imagine worst-case scenarios, we replay painful memories, and we let our emotions spiral out of control. But when we practice Stoic detachment, we stop suffering unnecessarily. We learn to face reality as it is, without the added weight of our emotional projections. The power of acceptance. Acceptance is another cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. The Stoics believe that peace of mind comes from accepting life as it is, rather than constantly wishing it were different. This doesn't mean passivity or resignation. It means recognizing the limits of your control and choosing to focus on what you can change. Epictetus, a former slave turned Stoic philosopher, taught that many of our struggles come from resisting reality. We fight against the things we cannot control, hoping to bend the world to our will. But this only leads to frustration and suffering. Instead, Stoicism teaches us to accept the world as it is, to embrace reality with all its imperfections, and to find peace in that acceptance. Let's bring this down to a practical level. Think about a time when something unexpected and uncontrollable happened in your life. Perhaps an illness, the loss of a loved one, or a failed relationship. Your initial reaction might have been one of resistance. This isn't fair. Or, why is this happening to me? But the Stoic approach encourages you to accept the situation, not in a fatalistic way, but with a recognition that there are things you cannot change. This acceptance doesn't mean you stop striving for improvement or growth. On the contrary, it frees up your energy to focus on the things you can control. When you stop wasting energy resisting reality, you can channel that energy into meaningful action. You can respond to life's challenges with wisdom and grace, rather than reacting with frustration or despair. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, "Love the hand that fate deals you and play it as your own." This powerful statement reflects the Stoic belief that acceptance is not about giving up. It's about embracing life fully, with all its ups and downs, and finding the strength to thrive regardless of the circumstances. Cultivating gratitude and perspective.